through and understand all the symptoms. It's just like, yes, 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 all these different things, especially when it came down to the behavioral components. As I mentioned, it was about, the better part of about 10 years where we had seen a lot of these changes, and how she was, even social interactions, where my mom was this socialite and, socialite of her city. And, then there was like, she started hoarding. And, that was a certain thing that came up for us where we're like, what is going on? And, amongst many, many other things. And especially when it came to some, just unfortunately bizarre things that had transpired where, it took her starting to kind of, I guess, a lot of her relationships started to fall away, and no one really understood how to engage with her because no one understood what was going on because she was not receptive to getting that care. And, with 10 years, I think the other thing that just blew my mind when this happened was they're so young. This is something that is affecting people in their 40s and 50s and 60s. I mean, my mom was 68 when she was finally diagnosed. But for having something like this, for what we believe, again, to be a better part of 10 years, and I think you said your mom was 50, mid 50s at the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is so young.
It's so young. And sadly, it's the hallmark, right? It's like one of the hallmarks of FTD is that normal onset is between 45 and 60. Although I have recently in my like journey with as a volunteer and meeting families, like I know families that have had daughters and sons diagnosed in their 30s, and that's young 40s. Like it's so heartbreaking because people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, you're kind of in like the prime of your life. You have a lot of things happening. You may have young children, like lots of different things are going on. So it's not just Alzheimer's where you may have lived your entire, 80 years or whatever it is and had this life and now this is happening, but it's really hitting in this like hallmark pinnacle peak of most people's lives and kind of cyclically exploding everything that's connected to what that person has going on. And also it's unknown, right? So you see these behaviors that you're seeing in your family members change, but you don't know why it's happening. It looks like lots of other things. Like it can look like mental illness. Right. It can look like psychotic breaks. It can look like different things. And if people aren't aware of the fact that, oh no, this person didn't like take milk off the shelf in the supermarket and drink it in the aisle because they didn't realize they weren't supposed to do that. The frontal part of your brain that's responsible for teaching you about social norms and things like that is not operating in its normal capacity anymore. So that person doesn't know what they're doing. I remember one time walking down the street with my mom and I told her, I was like, you're chewing gum, but you need to get rid of it because I think we were walking into a doctor's appointment or something. Normally my mom would have like taken her gum, put it in a napkin, found a trash can or something like that. And she just spit it out on the street. That's like not something my mom used to joke. I have two sisters and she used to say like, we were always going to Anne's finishing school with like manners and stuff like that. Like it's the complete opposite of what she would have done. But she just, took a big breath, spit that gum out on the street, was like, oh, okay, I'm good. But these are just things that you don't know. Once you're aware of what's happening, you can kind of set context for that. But the symptoms of FTD and the hallmarks are usually, that there's this huge loss of apathy, right? So people just become super apathetic, but also that their behaviors change because they no longer have a construct in their executive functioning in their other lobes about how to behave, what is proper behavior.
Yeah. And that is it's a heartbreaking thing as a family to watch that because you watch this person that is seemingly okay from the outside and you lose them piece by piece every single day. And, someone's like, after my mom had passed, like, how are you doing with things? And I'm like, I feel like I've said my goodbyes for the last 5 years. And it's gut wrenching because, again, my mom was somebody that was so bright and, to your story about like spitting out the gum, like there were times where she'd be at the grocery store and then something would happen in the checkout lane and she would explode at this person, explode. And knowing who my mom was, she would have she would not have wanted to see herself in that state. And you just your heart in those moments as like the family, you're just like, it's so hard to watch.
It's so
And
hard to watch.
because no one out from the outside understands. This is something that could be just normal for this person at
Of
any
course.
given
Right.
point. But when you're in it, it's just like,
Yeah, I think there's I don't know. I see other diseases, I've seen other people, but like in this disease, you literally watch the essence of what made that person go away.